Catch what's coming up next on First American Bank's Fourth Down.
Saints training camp kicks off Friday, so what has to be done right now to keep the Saints playing in January? Did Sean Payton and company make enough moves, or too many? And which player will take charge of Greg Williams' new defense? It's all tonight on Fourth Down.
This is the last word on sports. First American Bank's Fourth Down on 4.
And welcome into this special Saints Roundtable edition of Fourth Down, a pivotal year for the black and gold. A new lease, a new defensive coordinator, several new faces on both sides of the football, a make-or-break season for the Saints, and we're going to talk about it all. Let's introduce our panel who will give us the insights and all of the ins and outs of Saints football. We begin with E.Asher, WIST Radio. You probably remember him from our last roundtable. You may not recognize him, though. Lost about 45 pounds. Congratulations. L.Holder from CBSSports.com will join us as well. He follows the Saints all season. And from the Times-Picayune columnist, Jeff Duncan. Guys, first off, thanks for being here, and we'll jump right into it. Several moves, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but did the Saints do enough this offseason? Was getting Greg Williams, was getting Darren Sharper, or basically revamping your defensive secondary, was it enough this offseason for the Saints?
Well, I think the secondary obviously is very deep now, and deeper than it's probably ever been. Greg Williams, I think, is a great addition for this team. I think he's going to hide a lot of deficiencies on the team, but still think they lack depth at the defensive tackle position, and also they lack that athletic linebacker that can really make plays all over the field. Well, hopefully Williams, with his scheme, will be able to disguise some of those weaknesses, but they have upgraded some positions.
Do you think, both go to you guys now, do you think that linebacker position is a weakness? I think Jonathan Vilma, everyone would argue, is pretty solid. Shanley and Fajita. I mean, is there a chance that Jolon Dunbar finally starts to make a difference on this team?
Well, you know, the linebacker core has been kind of the bane of every Saints fan's existence the last few years, and I think those guys get a little bit of a bum rap. I've always felt like the core there is they're not dominant players, but they're good enough. They're smart players. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't have a playmaker. But, you know, the game's changed a lot over the last few years, and linebackers are almost a specialty position. There's very few guys that are on the field for 3 downs anymore. John Vilma's one of the few guys. So those positions, it's not like the Dome Patrol days with Ricky Jackson and Pat Swilling. The position's not that important. I think they're fine at linebacker. I think it's something people point to because the team's been losing. And those guys have become the scapegoat.
Larry, do you think every position that might have been a weak point the last couple of seasons because of Greg Williams and because of that safety net that you're going to have perhaps with the secondary, do you think that'll help everyone else, linebackers, defensive linemen, pass rushers?
I think just bringing in a guy like Greg Williams, it brings a completely different attitude to this defense. I mean, Gary Gibbs, he's probably not the most charismatic person in the world, and Greg Williams comes in. He's going to let you know he's the smartest man in the room and he knows what he's talking about. So just to have him there will bring a new life to those guys and even guys who weren't as effective in the previous years. I mean, it might light a fire under Charles Grant and Will Smith saying, hey, you guys better step up or we're going to be in trouble and I'm going to replace you with someone else.
That's going to have to be a long-lasting fire, though.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It's got to last at least 4 games.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, Bobby McCray, though, talked about it. Let's go back to the secondary issues, which I believe was the biggest upgrade that this team made. And Bobby McCray said it earlier on one of our shows that there were times even when you got the quarterback hurried and he kind of threw up the prayer, that came down to the other team. Where it seems like now you got guys like Darren Sharper, I think with a healthy Tracy Porter, maybe a guy like Jabari Greer, or maybe the Saints come down with that football. Do you agree that this was probably the most upgraded position they got?
Well, look at just in the last 2 years, they've added Randall Gay, Jabari Greer, Tracy Porter, and now Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, those 4 very good corners in that secondary. And that's not even talking about the safety position with Darren Sharper. So I really think that their secondary is as good as anybody in the NFC. They may not have a Charles Woodson back there, but very few teams do. They've got a lot of depth. When you've got a guy like Jason David a couple of years ago was starting for the team, and now he's their 6th corner, probably not even going to make the team. No, I think that they're fine back there. They've just got to get pressure, and Bobby McCray's right. The guy's got to make better plays on the ball, but I really believe that Greg Williams can help in that with a scheme as much as anything else. He's not going to make Charles Grant and Will Smith that much better pass rushers. He's going to create, I think, some indecision and some blocking problems with his attack and his X's and O's, and it's going to be up to those guys to know the defense, because the way he produces that scheme, it's all on the players to get in the right position. He really puts it in their hands and really can't point to the coach in this situation, because he's going to put it on John Vilma and those guys to make the calls at the line.
Well, it seems like the team did enough on defense. Did they do too much in other areas? Eric, your opinion on the whole Kevin Hauser situation. They say it was an upgrade. It looks like maybe more this was a locker room issue with the whole tax credit situation. I mean, what's going to happen if something happens and there's a bad snap? I mean, this is going to blow up in Sean Payton's face like the whole Orlando Mare, John Carney situation.
I don't think there's any doubt it had nothing to do with the performance of Kevin Hauser on the field. I mean, he has been almost perfect as a Saint. This was about the locker room. This was about the tax credits, and unfortunately, Hauser has to leave and head to Seattle because of it. They say it's an upgrade, but they got an older player who's making more money. I think the jury's still out on who's going to be the long snapper for this team. I think we'll find out, obviously, by the end of camp, but I don't think there's any doubt. It had nothing to do with Hauser's performance on the field.
Should it really... I talked with Archie Manning about this and asked him, could this situation really upset a locker room? And being as diplomatic as he was, he said it probably could. I would have thought that locker room would have been stronger than that. And then to have Jeremy Shockey kind of as your sounding board, your opinion on kind of how everything shook up with that.
I actually think they probably had to make the right move. I mean, this is a huge season. You mentioned earlier a make or break season. Sean Payton can't go another year without making the playoffs with a guy like Drew Brees playing at the level he's at. And he can't afford anything, a rift in the locker room or problems with some of his leaders. I personally think they should have been able to solve it, but I understand why he did it, and I don't think there's any doubt that it created some hard feelings in the locker room, and Eric's right. I mean, there's no doubt that's why Kevin Hauser's not here.
Larry Holder has all of our tax credits. We'll hold those over, though, until the next segment and try to get those from you. Stay with us. Coming up next on Fourth Down, we go either or. And one of the guys that we're going to talk about is Jeremy Shockey. How big of a season does he need to have for the Saints in 2009? Stay with us.
First American, a banking tradition since 1910.
Through depressions, hurricanes, and times of prosperity, people have understood that First American knows the business of banking. Like Yemelos Enterprises, new business development and storage facilities in St. Tammany.
It's their personal approach to my banking needs, and that's why I like First American Bank.
New business loans, just one more reason to let First American Bank help you.
Join me and start banking with First American.
In these uncertain times, people are concerned about the GM bankruptcy and dealerships being closed. But I'm here to tell you the facts. General Motors is back, and Crown will be right here in Metairie, still going strong as ever. Stop by today and see for yourself the exceptional savings going on right now during GM's summer event. Take advantage of supplier prices on every vehicle, plus 0% for 60 months on many vehicles including Enclave, Acadia, and Sierra pickups. After 34 years, you can still count on Crown.
Honey, there's a storm in the Gulf.
What?
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to raise and beautify your home at no cost to you. $100,000 LRA reimbursement grants are available. Orleans Shoring is the only elevation company to finance you through the elevation project.
We'll be fine thanks to Orleans Shoring, and it didn't cost us a dime.
Call 888 Elevate. Orleans Shoring, never flood again.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
You know, everybody's getting to know my name. I'm Justin Case. That's because everybody's trying to save money these days, and I'm helping them. Safe Auto, just in case.
Hey, Justin, I've got to cut back somewhere, and I'm thinking about my car insurance.
No, that could cost you even more. We offer the state-required minimum coverage, low monthly payments, and give you lots of ways to pay.
Thanks, Justin.
Safe Auto.
Welcome back into the show. It's a special Saints Roundtable edition of Fourth Down on 4. Eric Asher, WIST Radio, Larry Holder, CBS Sports, Jeff Duncan from the Times-Picayune. And this segment, we're going to go either or. I'm going to pose some scenarios to you guys, either or, and you kind of give me your opinion. First off, who needs to have a bigger season? Larry, we're going to start off with you since your tax credits again fell through. Who needs to have a bigger season in 2009? Jeremy Shockey or Robert Meacham?
I think it's Jeremy Shockey because you gave up a bunch of draft picks that are coming up this coming draft and the previous draft, and he's an established player. You brought him in. He was a risk player, but a guy that could be risk reward. And this is on Sean Payton. I mean, this is his guy. They brought him in, and if he doesn't produce this year, I don't see him producing as a Saint. He needs to produce this year. And with Robert Meacham, I mean, there's other receivers that are
But
more
he's a
established.
first-round pick. I mean, you may lose those picks that you got with Jeremy Shockey, but you blow a first-round pick who gives you what, maybe 2 touchdowns his career, maybe. I think he's got to have a big season, just from a standpoint of production, not necessarily because the Saints need him to, but man, you don't want to waste a first-round pick.
I think it's much harder for a Meacham to go up the depth chart with all the receivers they have on this team than a Shockey, because a Shockey has to make an impact, like Larry said. Also, what the tight end can do in this offense with Drew Brees, if you can get somebody that can consistently catch the ball, this guy's going to demand coverage, and it's going to open up other things for other players. So I agree with Larry. Jeremy Shockey's got to have a great year for this team this year. Or again, those draft choices are wasted draft choices.
But even without Meacham and Shockey, they still had the top-ranked offense in the league last year. So I mean, it's not like they were sputtering without either one.
Well, and I felt like that all along. It doesn't seem to matter who they plug in at the skill positions. I mean, Reggie Bush goes down. Pierre Thomas has a huge year. Marcus Colston wasn't there last year. I think as long as Drew Brees is pulling the trigger, they're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 offenses in the league every year.
More important defensively for the Saints, Jonathan Vilma or Darren Sharper?
Oh, I think Vilma's got to have another big year. He's the tackling machine for this team against the run. Obviously, he's the only guy that goes in there, really plugs holes consistently. You know, Sharper's got to have a big year for the Saints, but the bigger player on this team in terms of the defense, to me, is Jonathan Vilma.
I think there's no question it's Vilma, because Greg Williams, as soon as he got here, he said, Vilma, you're going to be the quarterback of my defense. He barely had talked to him, but Jeff and I spoke with him at length at the Senior Bowl, and he said, Jonathan Vilma will be the quarterback of my defense. He's got to get it and be kind of the coach on the field, and he has to be the leader on that defense.
Even as porous as that secondary was and as many big plays as they gave up, though, I would tend to think that a ball-hawking safety like Darren Sharper, granted, I think maybe you lose sight of what Vilma did because it wasn't flashy, but he was so important. But, man, if you can get a guy that can make a few plays, that's 2 wins that the Saints could have had that right off the top of your head that you can remember.
Well, I think Darren Sharper's value is going to be a lot like John Vilma's. I don't think he's going to make a ton of plays back there. I don't think he's going to be leading the league in interceptions. I think his value is going to come with getting people in the right position. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Cerebral guys that Greg Williams is going to lean on to get people lined up, and I think a guy like Darren Sharper has already had a big influence on a guy like Roman Harper. I think a veteran back there, and they really needed a veteran kind of captain on the back end. I think that's where his influence is going to be felt, making players like Harper better.
And, you know, I think Harper is the guy that the Saint fans have to watch this year because of his ability to be kind of a pseudo linebacker. He's a guy that can rush the passer. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be really part of the blitz packages that Williams is going to put in. And I think that's going to help Harper in his career, especially after having such a bad year last year.
I think his skill set is better tuned to knocking guys out. Darren Sharper more for kind of going after the ball. I think you're right on that. Bigger concern for the Saints. 4th and 1 on offense, 3rd and 6 on defense.
Oh, I think 3rd and 6 on defense. I think that I think last year might have been a little bit of an anomaly in the short yardage rushing. I think they'll get that worked out this year. They've made that a point of emphasis, but the 3rd down and 6, the defensive side of the ball was just a mess all the way around, personnel-wise, coaching. I think confidence-wise, Larry alluded earlier to Greg Williams' impact. I think as much as anything, he's going to give these guys a little swagger and confidence to where they take the field. They're excited now. You see it in practice, and they haven't had that in the last few years. They're been a very milquetoast defense, and I think that, as much as anything, is going to be the biggest difference for Greg
So you don't
Williams.
think they need the big back thing? Can we stop talking about the big back?
I'm not sold that they can get 4th and 1 until they do it, and they still have the same offensive line. I mean, Aaron Cromer came in at the end of last year, offensive line coach. Maybe he changes the way they do things, but I'm still not sold that they can make 4th and 1 right now. I'm still not sold.
And I agree. I think the offensive line right now is a finesse offensive line. They haven't proven to anyone that they can run the football effectively when it's 4th and 1, 3rd and 2 in terms of short yardage. And I agree with Jeff. I think that the addition of Williams and his scheme will help this team get off the field on 3rd down. I really do. But on the other side, I think it's going to be tough. I think they got to really prove that they're a smash mouth type offensive line, and I don't think they are. I really don't.
Now, still the top-ranked offense with all those failures on 4th down. I believe if you stop people in this league, you can win. We got about 30 seconds, so real quick. Drew Brees goes down for a few games. Who do you want to kind of patch you through those 2 games? Mark Brunell, Joey Harrington. Either or none of the above.
None of the above.
Archie come out of retirement?
None of the above.
With this tax credit thing, maybe he's going to have to. All right. So I guess we're still not sold on the Saints backup quarterback position. That will still be up for another roundtable discussion. Stick around. We've got much more of the black and gold roundtable discussion. When we come back, we look at the schedule. How will the Saints fare this year? 11 wins. Is it a possibility? Stay with us. You're watching Fourth Down.
The game plan for success is drawn up at training camp. And the Saints defense has a new leader sketching out the plays. Catch the online updates and blogs as events unfold. Then, watch in-depth reports and expert analysis from Jim Henderson and the Eyewitness Sports team. See if the changes to the defense will be enough to chart a course to victory. Watch Eye on Saints Camp every night starting Friday on Channel 4's Eyewitness News and Camp Talk on WWLTV.com. An 18th century painting, commissioned antiques carefully shipped to specification across the world, and family possessions delivered on time. Each is important, special in many ways, and all are handled by kid gloves. And today, this local company continues to move with a reputation of safe, dependable service.
Our clients trust us, and we value that immensely.
We're Louisiana made, Louisiana proud, at Kid Gloves and Channel 4.
Most of us put our hearts into our work, but sometimes our hearts fail us. Heart disease is a common cause of permanent disability, yet thousands of people are denied their medical benefits from Social Security. That's when you need the experience of Matt Greenbaum. Social Security law is all he does, and for nearly 30 years, he's been fighting for thousands of clients, helping them secure their rightful benefits.
Call me and let me fight for you.
Welcome back into this Saints Roundtable edition of Fourth Down. E.Asher, Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan from the Times-Picayune. Now we're going to break down the season. We're going to go in 4 quarters, which is kind of what the team does, and find out whether you think it's a win, whether you think it's a loss. First 4 games of the season. September 13th is the opener against the Lions. Detroit at Philadelphia, at Buffalo, and then at home against New York. I see the Detroit game as a win. I don't think anyone would disagree on that, would you? Rookie quarterback.
If they lose that game, just shut the season.
Shut the whole thing down right there. Put Joey Harrington in.
Right. It'll be a Tim Couch moment. Hail Mary.
At Philadelphia, you know, I thought this was a loss until this whole mess with their defensive coordinator. Now with the health issues, you see them going into Philadelphia and winning?
That's a game they've not been able to win in the past. Going on the road against NFC East opponents, except for a few years ago against Dallas, that might be the one loss I've got them with in the first.
I'd say a loss because Sean McDermott has been a defensive coordinator in waiting. I think their defense doesn't fall off.
And I agree.
I think that's a loss as well. At Buffalo, Terrell Owens. I don't think he's had time to destroy that team by then, but I still think the Saints are better than Buffalo.
I do too.
I'm going Saints with
Saints
that.
on that.
Buffalo's got a terrible offensive line. It's good for the Saints in that they're going to be short on the defensive line.
Unless it comes down to special teams, in which Buffalo might have the best special teams in the league. All right, then they get their bye week. You hate to have their bye week that high, but it comes after that first one. So collectively, we've got the Saints now at 3-1 after the first 4 games. We head into the next quarter of games. New York Giants at home. Eli comes home. First ever game at the Dome, by the way. Hard to believe, huh? At Miami versus Atlanta in that Monday night game, and then versus Carolina. The Giants I see as a loss. I think the Giants are going to have a bounce-back year, if you can have a bounce-back year from their standards. And I think that it's going to be tough for the Saints to stop them.
I think it's a split, really. I think when you look at this schedule, I think they can beat Miami. I think they can beat Atlanta, but I think they'll lose to the Giants in Carolina.
I think the Giants are going to be too much. Osi Umenyior's coming back. They're going to get pressure on Breeze that game.
Well, that's clearly the toughest quarter of the season for them. That's 4 playoff teams they play, but they get some of them at home, and I like their chances against the Giants at home in a big game environment.
Then they follow that up with the trip out to South Beach and take on Miami. I just believe that there'll be that trend that you've seen so far with the breakout teams that came out of nowhere one year. They kind of fall back to the pack, and the next year I think they win in Miami.
I agree. I'll take the Saints in Miami. I just don't see them. Yeah, I'm kind of the same wavelength as you.
The only thing I'll say about that game is that you get a big win against the Giants, that could be tough going on the road.
That could be the letdown game. The Wildcat is always a wild card as well. Atlanta on Monday night, I just think, is always going to be a win for the Saints from here on out. After 2006, I think the Falcons will be forever cursed on Monday night.
And they're a better team than Atlanta. They really are. I mean, the key is the next game, which is Carolina, which they've had obviously a tough time with, but they're a better team than Atlanta right now.
And I agree. I think the Saints pull out. I don't see Atlanta. I see Atlanta coming back down to earth this year too. So I'll take the Saints.
43 years Atlanta has played football. They've had 10 winning seasons. Never have they had 2 in a row.
But have they ever had a quarterback this good? I mean, this guy is the real deal, and we're going to find out about the Saints' defense.
So you weren't a Dombrowski fan, or
no.
What was his name?
And no offense to Bobby Hebert either. But,
All right. So then it looks like collectively now we have them starting off at 6-2 through their first 8 games. At least I do anyway. We'll tally your guys up later. All right, so the next one, I think this is the toughest stretch for them this next quarter because of the games on the road. They start off at St. Louis, then they go at Tampa Bay, New England at home on Monday night, and then they go to Washington. I see them beating the Rams. If you can have a rebuilding year in the NFL, I think the Rams are having one.
Well, yeah, and I really believe that the Saints got to learn how to win on the road. They didn't do a very good job last year. That's a game in a dome environment that's suited for them.
I don't see the Rams being the team that's going to come out and beat them. Steve Spagnuolo, first year, I don't think they're going to be ready for the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. They're better than St. Louis.
At Tampa Bay, under Sean Payton, they have not played well at Tampa Bay, be it for weather, be it for whatever. I just don't see them winning that game on the road. Even a first-year head coach and everything that's going to go on at Tampa Bay, I think on the road there, that's a loss.
I think they win them. I think they beat Tampa Bay. I think they're a better team than Tampa this year. I think Tampa's defense is rebuilding and under a new coach. I think the Saints have a real shot to beat Tampa Bay at Tampa.
I think that the Saints are going to sweep Tampa. I think Tampa's going to be the worst team in the South, and I think they'll win here and win later in the season.
Okay.
Tampa will have the first pick in the draft next year.
Wow, you heard it here first. All right, then the Monday night game against New England. I just don't see them beating Tom Brady as emotionally charged as the Dome will be on a Monday night. I just don't see that as being a win.
I think they can win that game. They can beat anybody in the Superdome. And so I think they could easily go unbeaten there this year.
I could see if they're playing well at that point, perhaps so, but if they have any chinks in their armor defensively or offensively, I think Belichick can expose it.
Yeah, I don't see them beating New England, even on a Monday night game. I agree with Jeff that it's a tough place to play in the Dome with the fans, the energy, but at the end of the day, I think New England's a better team.
I think Drew Brees has a better night than Tom Brady, but Tom Brady gets the win.
All right, now we look at the final quarter of that schedule. Pretty conducive for some success here for the Saints. At Atlanta, Dallas at home, Tampa Bay at home, who you said is going to have the first pick in the draft, so we'll chalk that up as a win. And then at Carolina. At Atlanta, we go back to I think they're going to sweep Atlanta. They've never had 2 back-to-back winning seasons. I think the Saints can go in there. Look at some of their tough road games, all in domes this year, which helps them out.
I think Atlanta will beat them there. I think they'll split with Atlanta, sweep Tampa, and I actually think they can split with Carolina this year. They haven't been able to beat them in the Superdome for some reason, but I think they'll beat them there this year.
I kind of agree with Jeff. I think at Atlanta, I think Matt Ryan will play well, and they'll have their crowd on their side. I mean, simple as that.
All right.
And I think that they can beat Atlanta in Atlanta. I really think that I think they're a better team than Atlanta right now. But again, they got to prove they can beat Carolina. That's been the Achilles heel for this team for a long time.
Real quick, just win or loss through these next couple ones. We're going to assume Wade Phillips has not been fired by the time they meet Dallas. You see the Dallas game as a win?
Dallas win.
A Dallas win?
A Dallas win. That's
Dallas
what I'm
win. Okay, so that's a loss.
Yeah,
I'm
going to say a Dallas win.
I see that Saints as a win versus Tampa Bay at home. Win. I see that as a win. At Carolina, that's the one that you've been pointing to. That's always a tough game. Don't forget that Sean Payton has never beat Carolina in the Dome. He's had some more success, though, in Carolina. How do you see this one going?
Well, I think on the road, it's all going to depend on the conditions, what that game means, and we don't have any idea at this point.
I say it's Saints loss.
Same here.
Saints loss. I see the Saints losing that one, going 10-6, making the playoffs. Everyone else in our unofficial tally was right at about 10 or 11 wins. So 11 wins is a possibility for the Saints this year, according to our expert staff. Guys, we appreciate it so much. E.Asher, you can see his show every weekday on WIST Radio. What time?
Noon to 3.
Noon to 3, and on Saturdays. L.Holder, read his columns, biting columns, CBSSports.com. And as always, a columnist from the Times-Picayune, Jeff Duncan, will be with the Saints all season. Guys, we really do appreciate you coming down. Hope you had fun.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, stick around, and we wrap up 4th Down after the break.
Cadillac is proud to support the Ogden Museum of Southern Art. Join us for White Linen Night Saturday, August 1st, featuring new exhibitions like Storming the Ramparts Objects of Evidence, showcasing a 19th century painting by Gilbert Gall and Civil War era objects. Capture the spirit and beauty of the everyday and the extraordinary with Bo Bartlett's paintings. And looking to learn, NOCA student creations in a variety of mixed media. Louisiana Coastal Cadillac dealers invite you to have a special White Linen Night at the Ogden.
2009 Car and Driver 10 Best, second year in a row. A 2009 Best Resale Value Award from Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com. And the best luxury coverage in the industry. Apparently, it is possible to raise the bar and still keep everything within reach.
Visit your Louisiana Coastal Cadillac dealer.
Hey.
Here are some notable dates for the Saints preseason. Friday morning, the first workout. The team will also hold an afternoon practice. Both of those open to the public. August 8th, the team's first scrimmage. August 14th, the first preseason game. Cincinnati and Chad Ochocinco come to the Dome. That next week, the team will hit the road. They'll work out a few times in Houston before playing the Texans on August 27th. End of the month, another preseason game on the road, this time in Oakland. Camp breaks on Tuesday, September 1st, just before the team's final exhibition matchup with Miami right here at home. Don't forget, you can log on to WWLTV.com, sign up for Camp Talk, and stay up to the minute with everything Saints this training camp. Blogs, Twitters, everything else to keep you in the know. Thanks for staying up late with us tonight. For everyone that makes this show work, have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday on 4th Down.